Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Ruchita Green. In the show tonight, a school in Hull gets an extension, Grimsby's Urban Arts Festival gets ready, and a heatwave warning from the council. And I'll be talking to Craig Marriott, from Social Landlord On Go, about cycling great distances to raise money for charity. But first, some of the news headlines this Monday evening. The Humber lifeboat was launched last night to rescue a man feeling unwell 30 miles off Spurn Point. The casualty was on board a standby vessel when the alarm was raised to the UK Coast Guard, who requested the launch of the Iron Allies Humber lifeboat. Once on scene, they manoeuvred alongside the boat and the casualty was taken on board. He was then rushed to hospital in Grimsby. A 19-year-old man has suffered facial injuries after being assaulted in Immingham. The incident happened between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on Sunday, July the 10th on Green Lane, Bridleway. There is no description of the attackers because the man was approached from behind. Humberside Police have asked anyone with information about the incident to ring the non-emergency number 101. A Hull school is celebrating a new lease of life following the completion of a £300,000 extension, which will provide extra learning space for its children. 2 new classrooms for up to 56 children in Hull have been officially opened. Hull West and Hazel MP Alan Johnson was there to cut the ribbon for the new building at Adelaide Primary School, just off Rawlings Way in the city. Dan Kemp brings us this report.
It's great to see schools of such high quality. We've had a lot of that over the last 10 years, the Building Schools to the Future project. And for a long time, the real worry about Hull was its population was declining. And in particular for education, there was this move west out to the East Riding. And that's been staunched and reversed. And now the population is increasing. And that needs to happen because if we want to ensure that the city has the workforce that it needs, if we want to ensure that we're a growing city, that we're a top 10 city, we can't carry on with that population decline. And if you've got a population increase, you need the extra school places to deal with that pressure, and that's what we're doing here at Adelaide.
What we have behind us, we have two new 5 classrooms for the expanding school. We haven't quite finished the building programme. We have 1 more classroom to build next year for Year 6. So eventually we'll have sort of moved from a 1-form entry school to a 2-form. More than that, it caters for the growing needs of the expanding community. Adelaide Primary School is in a very busy area of Hull. We're surrounded by the busiest roads in Hull, and there isn't really anywhere else for children to travel to safely. So the school really needed to expand to accommodate for the growing population in the Mighton area of Hull.
North East Lincolnshire Council is planning to lease the Meridian Showground site in Cleethorpes to potential buyers due to budget cuts. Owing to slashes to their budget, the council are no longer able to support the popular showground themselves. The council is currently liaising with several companies who have shown interest in the site in an effort to locate close to £1 million to save the park. Fred McNamara spoke to Councillor Hazel Chase about the shift in ownership.
This is part of the ongoing budget cuts that we have to look at. We have to find £800,000. By actually trying to offload the Meridian, we can do a cost saving of £60,000. We don't want to see it idle. We want to see someone make jolly good use of it. It's an excellent plot and it can be used to its full potential in the right hands. Well, I think it's an excellent site, and of course Cleethorpes is yet again on the up and up. You only have to look at the Armed Forces weekend that we had recently, and you know the attractions that we had in the area at that time, and the people that actually came to Cleethorpes. It could well be a profit-making exercise for anyone who's prepared to take it on. Unfortunately, we as the council can't afford to keep it on because of the funding cutbacks that I mentioned previously. But I would stress to anybody who's interested in it, if you have a genuine appetite for the Meridian site and you think you can make a go of it, please make investigations with the council and see what you can offer. We will look at it. That is the reason for the soft market exercise. I actually feel that this centre in the right hands could be a rather a large popular money-making exercise. It's just somebody needs to take it on and be able to dedicate time and money to it, and it would be a shame to see it idle.
Now, a team of bike riders from OnGo have raised around £1,000 for charity after they took part in a 100-mile bike ride. Craig Marriott and 4 other riders took on the Castle to Coast to Castle challenge on Thursday the 7th of July, which saw them cycle from Lincoln Castle to the sea and back again. Craig joins me in the studio now. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening.
How are you today?
I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah.
No aches and pains.
Yes, no aches and pains, luckily. So tell us a little bit about this 100-mile bike ride. It seems quite a task.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. It's not an easy route. You go over the walls, but it's something that, well, we did last year. 5 of us last year and 5 of this year have, and it's something that we, as a company, we're really promoting, actually, charity work and putting everything we do back into communities. So the charity bike ride was a nice day out, and actually raised for some good, some good money.
Yeah. What charities are you raising this money for?
This year, 3 charities, which is St Barnabas Hospice in Lincoln, the MS Society, and the Cyclists Against Cancer.
That's great. So how did this whole idea come about? You said you did it last year. Was that the first year that you've done this bike ride? Yeah,
last year was the first year. It was good. To be honest, a lot easier this year, knowing the routes and where the hills were, and a little bit more extra training.
Yeah.
But we try and put as much as we can do into the different charity events. We've done quite a few different things, within the company. And this one, well, 5 of us keen cyclists thought it was a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So between the 5 of you then, have you done smaller distances, or was it just like, oh, let's go for the 100 miles the first time?
I've done the distance a few times before.
Oh, right.
And a couple of others have, but one lad, to be honest, he only started training really at Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Never really been a bike rider. Borrowed a bike off his uncle and a bit of kit.
Yeah.
And that was it, yeah. And he did his first ride, and he absolutely, yeah, he nailed it really well.
And that's fantastic. So, I mean, it seems like you did, talk me through the route again. So you went from Lincoln Castle to...
Yeah, over to Chapel St Leonard's, so over the top of the walls. And Chapel St Leonard's is a stop there, we have a bit of dinner. And then back to Lincoln, again,
back
on a different route.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
So some nice, some few little challenging hills involved, but all part of it.
I mean, the way it works in marathons, was the timing a challenge as well, or did you say, right, we're just going to do 100 miles as long as it takes? No,
we knew what speeds we wanted to do. We'd got a bit of an itinerary which we wanted to follow, so it weren't just a case of just a steady amble. We knew we wanted to be at certain times, and we stuck to it pretty well, but fairly tough coming back. Going great, we had a nice tailwind, but unfortunately a headwind coming back, it made it a little bit tougher.
Yeah. So what sort of training would you do in preparation for a 100-mile ride?
Well, yeah, you've put in quite a few big rides beforehand. Yeah, I did quite a few rides from Lincolnshire to Sheffield and back, and some of the other lads did some 50-60 mile rides quite regular. Yeah. But none of us did the 100 before we did the 100, so we had to wait for that day to actually do that one. So.
Fairly new still.
Yeah.
Fairly new. That's great. You were talking about your boss, the chief exec, before, where he was going to come along, and unfortunately we haven't had the pleasure to meet him. But was this his idea initially, or? Yeah,
very much. Andy Orry, the CEO, is very much a keen cyclist, and is very much also, the company itself is very keen about actually keeping us fit and healthy, that we have a good work-life balance. Well, before that, we actually, a few of us did the Lincoln 10K as a company as well. We've done things like that, so where we get involved in quite a few events which are fitness-based to get that good work-life balance.
Yeah, I mean, with OnGo being like a social enterprise, really, is it important for you to be seen doing events in the community?
Yeah, that's the thing, because all the charities, again, the local charities that we try and support, we do quite a lot with Lynsey Lodge Hospice in Scunthorpe and we've done quite a bit for the Magic Moments Autistic.
Yeah.
So
We'll talk a little bit more about your charities when we come back in the second half, so just hold that thought for me. Join me after the break when I will chat some more with my guest, and Dan Kemp brings us the latest sports news. Welcome back, you're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Council warns public to stay safe in the heat wave, Grimsby's Urban Arts Festival kicks off, and all the latest sporting action. As temperatures continue to climb in Hull over the next few days, Hull City Council is urging people to take care in the hot weather and to keep an eye on young children, older and more vulnerable people. Temperatures are expected to reach 27 degrees Celsius during the day and stay at 18 degrees Celsius through the night. Director of Public Health Julia Weldon said, "Some sunny weather is very welcome, but we also want to ensure people stay safe. High temperatures can be dangerous for vulnerable people, including babies, children, the elderly, and people with an existing medical condition, so it is important we look out for them." Members of the public are encouraged to follow advice from NHS Choices and Public Health England to stay safe during this heat wave. For more information on how to stay safe during hot weather, visit www.nhs.uk and search heatwave. Grimsby is set to become a hub for a community of artists coming together for a special one-day event. Grimsby's Urban Art Festival will return for its second year on 10th of September. It'll take place around St James House and Grimsby Minster. Nearly 20 local and international artists will join together for a day of producing live artwork, along with music and breakdancing. The event is put together by event organisers Our Big Picture Limited and Lynn's Urban Arts. Fred McNamara spoke to the organisers of the event.
Well, we work very closely with the Grimsby Minster and the team there, the clergy team there, and when we first did last year, it was very much about reclaiming this space for everybody, because it is known for an antisocial behaviour, and it's a beautiful spot in the centre of Grimsby and it needs celebrating. And one way was to create a festival that anybody could come to, an everyone festival. And working with Lynn's Urban Arts, it was great to be able to look at something new and fresh for the area. I mean, these events happen all over the country in many major cities, and it's bringing it to Grimsby was a real coup to try and get it here. And we did well last year to get the funding, and this year we've done very well through partnerships mainly to actually really get this to work again this year. And the partners have come on board because they saw the success of last year. And it's about reclaiming the space. It's about a space for everybody. It's about bringing an alternative culture and culture to Grimsby that is as good as any that you'll see in a city. And that's why it's important. And it's important for the local communities that are around here, that the young people have a chance to see something at this quality as well that they might not get a chance to see.
I'm bringing all the artists down, some international ones, some local ones, we've got UK ones, we've got anamorphic artists, we've got realism artists who do faces, we've got people who do animals, people who do cute characters, lettering, so everything to do with graffiti and the different styles that graffiti is will be at the festival. But also including breakdancing, b-boying more, and also the music will be all hip-hop music. So we're sticking with the 4 elements, which is going to be DJing, MCing, graffiti art and breaking.
So as part of the 4 Elements festival, which is happening on Saturday 10th of September, there will also be workshops, which is a great chance for people to get involved. They're open workshops. Anyone that's got any kind of interest in getting involved in the different styles is welcome to come along and try them out. They've got workshops in all 4 elements, so for those that are interested in music, there's DJing and MCing. For those that are interested in the dance style, I'll be getting people dancing in the studio. For people that are interested in graffiti and writing, that'll be happening as well. So yeah, everything's covered. Come and give it a try.
Connecting all the artists together, artists who have never painted together before, who probably would never get the chance to paint together if it wasn't for the Grimsby Urban Art Festival. And also it's showing Grimsby what it's about. It's not about vandalism, it's not about crime, it's about art, it's about skills, it's about showing what the culture is.
The best thing about the festival is it's a family fun event, a family event, open up to anybody and everybody. And we did find that last year, that we did get a really wide age group coming and different people from different parts of the community coming. And so it's doing that again, it's reclaiming that space back, but it's also saying that, well, can we do this again next year as well? And talking to the partners and talking to the public that come and say, what do you want from this area and what can we use it for in the future? And you know, this building will come down at some point or get refurbished, whatever happens to it, but do we need something more culture related in the area? And that's quite a great opportunity to do that with a festival.
And still with me in the studio is Craig Marriott from On Go. Welcome back, Craig. We were talking about some of the charities that you raised money for just before we went to the break. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, there's quite a few charities which are quite close to people's hearts in Scunthorpe. One, Lynsey Lodge Hospice, which unfortunately everybody knows somebody who's had cancer, and they do some terrific work down there. And we get involved in lots and lots of events, what they're doing with the one coming up soon, Double Bubble, which quite a few of the staff are involved with. And that's again raising money for a very, very worthwhile project, yeah. And then the Magic Moments, which is an autism charity, and they've got their own building, and the tradesmen got very heavily involved working down there, doing a lot of work in their own time, doing rewires, doing a lot of plastering, you know, boarding it out and getting that place up and running. Yeah. So there's quite a few charities which are very local to us, which are very close to people's hearts, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about how it was your boss's idea to do a bike ride in particular because they like to balance out your work and sort of private life and health and things like that. Are there any other kind of physical challenges that you're going to do or in the pipeline?
Oh yeah, yeah, hopefully yes. There's quite a few different things which are hopefully coming up with. Hopefully next year we're going to do the bike ride again, but we're going to do it probably a little bit longer, an extra 10-20 mile on top of it.
All right.
Everybody, we're going to do that. So, yeah, which again takes in quite a few bit more climbing on it. I think about another 2,000 feet of climbing.
All right.
So that would be again a nice year to train for it, and hopefully we'll have a team of 10 next year. We're hoping to get. So good. There's a couple of lads who've shown interest that they'd like to start doing it, and they're going to start training now to get up to that sort of distance.
And that's brilliant. So obviously they're gaining inspiration from the likes of you, and the other four have gone out and done this twice in a row now. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
And it's been really good talking to you, and I hope you know, all the best for future endeavours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for the sport with Dan.
We'll start with tennis, and Ticton's Kyle Edmund beat Serbia's Dusan Lajovic in Belgrade 6-3, 6-4, 7-6 as Great Britain beat Serbia in the Davis Cup quarter-finals. GB will now face Argentina in the semis. It was the first time that Britain had been victorious in a Davis Cup match without their number one player, as Andy Murray opted to take a break from the competition after his Wimbledon triumph. Hull City fullback Moses Odebajo will be out for 6 months after a scan today confirmed he has knee ligament damage. He did the damage during Friday night's 0-0 draw with Grimsby Town at Blundell Park. Paul Hurst's side gave a good account of themselves against Steve Bruce's Premier League outfit, which featured 9 of the 11 that started in the playoff final for Hull City in May. 24 hours later, both sides were in action again, as Hull retained the Billy Bly Memorial Trophy, beating North Ferriby United 2-0. Greg Ollie and Greg Lua scoring for the Tigers. Elsewhere, Grimsby won 1-0 at Alfreton on Saturday thanks to a Tom Boloraniwa strike. It was the Mariners' first win of pre-season. All 3 sides, including North Ferriby, are next in action tomorrow evening. Hull travel to Mansfield, Grimsby head to Paul Hurst's former side Boston, and North Ferriby make the short trip to Barton Town. Meanwhile, Scunthorpe concluded their pre-season tour of Austria as they lost 2-1 to FC Liefering, with Tom Hopper scoring for the Iron. And on to cricket, and in the Yorkshire ECB Premier League South, Appleby Frodding hit 221 for 9 as they beat Barnsley by 45 runs. In reply, they hit 176. The win means they're now 18 points behind leaders Wakefield Thorns. Elsewhere, third place Cleethorpes suffered a shock defeat at home to lowly Treaton as the visitors hit 215 for 8, in contrast to the hosts who scored 125. And in the north section, there were better news as both Hull and Driffield, who beat Castleford and Acomb respectively. And in the minor counties, Lincolnshire beat Suffolk 177 for 3, in contrast to their opposition who hit just 144. And that's all from the sport.
That's it for tonight. As always, we're always looking for news stories from the community. So if you have a news story that you'd like to share with us, you can visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, or you can email us at news@estuary.tv or call us in Grimsby on 01472 31 553. You can also write to us, put pen to paper and write to Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 34 5BQ. Thank you to my guest tonight, Craig Marriott, and thank you for watching. Until tomorrow, good evening. Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Rachita Green. In the show tonight, Hull City Manager, a contender for the England job, Hull's historic splashboat opens for the summer holidays, and severe weather warnings across the region. Also, Dan Kemp will bring us the latest sports news. But first, some of the news headlines this Tuesday evening. Hull City manager Steve Bruce has held talks with the Football Association about the possibility of becoming the new England manager. Speculation has been rife in recent weeks about the City boss replacing Roy Hodgson, who led England to the second round defeat at Euro 2016. The Tigers have released a statement today saying that no formal contact has been made between the club and the FA. Dan Kemp will bring you more in the sports news later on. 3 people, a man and 2 women, were fatally wounded in a shooting this morning on Pinchbeck Road in Spalding. Lincolnshire Police have said that there is no indication this was a terrorist-related incident and have urged people to stay away from the area. No shots were fired by the police and the only suspect is said to be one of the deceased. In a press conference held outside Spalding Police Station, Superintendent Paul Timmins, Local Policing East, said, "We believe a shotgun was involved in the incident and are currently investigating the circumstances of this tragic incident. We confirm that we are not seeking anyone else in connection with this tragedy. We believe all those involved were known to each other. However, we are not in a position to release their names nor confirm their specific relationship to each other. We are working alongside colleagues from the East Midlands Major Crime Team in order to provide answers around what has happened today. Along with South Holland District Council and the British Red Cross, we'll be providing support to anyone adversely affected by this tragedy." North East Lincolnshire Council is joining forces with Public Health England to launch a national awareness campaign for lung and heart disease. The Respiratory Symptoms campaign is aimed at men and women aged 50 and over, as well as their friends and family. The campaign will encourage people with persistent respiratory problems to visit their GP, as it could be a symptom of a variety of conditions including cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or heart disease in the case of breathlessness. People aged over 50 are most at risk of having undiagnosed respiratory illness and make up 97% of the lung cancer diagnoses. Councillor Carl Sherwood, Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing, has said, "The aim of the campaign isn't to scare people. We want to make sure people are aware of what symptoms to look out for and encourage people not to ignore respiratory problems. Visiting your doctor will give you that peace of mind." The Yorkshire Wildlife Trust says they'll appeal a decision which rejected a new visitor centre at Spurn Point. The Trust say they're dismayed that East Riding of Yorkshire Council have rejected their application to build on a site adjacent to Spurn National Nature Reserve. They say they expect the decision to be overturned by the Secretary of State. Witnesses are being sought following a fatal road traffic collision near Scunthorpe. The incident occurred on the M180 westbound carriageway near Junction 3 at 5:25 p.m. on Monday. The collision involved two articulated goods vehicles. One of the drivers, a 26-year-old man from the Hull area, sustained fatal injuries in the incident and died at the scene. The other driver, a 45-year-old man from the Immingham area, was not injured. East Park's historic splash boat has opened for the summer holidays today following extensive maintenance work. The water chute house had suffered severe damage during the raids in May 1941. Since its introduction in 1929, the splash boat has held fond memories for many people in Hull, selling nearly 2,000 tickets during the school holidays. The run starts at 22 feet above water level, with a horizontal run of 78 feet. Councillor Terry Geraghty, portfolio holder for Culture and Leisure and chair of Hull Culture and Leisure, said, "The historic attraction is an integral part of East Park, and we have worked really hard to ensure it receives the maintenance work needed to preserve the splash boat. With only one similar attraction remaining in the country, it is only right that the splash boat is preserved for visitors to enjoy." The popular family attraction will be open to public between 10:45 a.m. and 5:15 p.m. from Tuesday the 19th of July until Sunday the 4th of September. A much-loved institution of Cleethorpes seafront has temporarily closed to the public. Cleethorpes paddling pool has been closed due to renovation works. Fred McNamara has more.
On sunny days such as these, Cleethorpes paddling pool is often used as a welcome haven for young families. However, that haven is now not available at the minute, as the Cleethorpes paddling pool is currently closed until further notice. North East Lincolnshire Council have apologised for the closure and in a statement have said that repairs to the plant room are needed in order to bring the facility in line with current health and safety standards. While that work continues, the paddling pool is unfortunately closed to the public until further notice.
Now Dan Kemp joins me to review a few news stories from across the region. Hi Dan, how are you doing?
Good evening, not bad, thank you.
Right, first of all, what's this about Steve Bruce being asked to do the England job?
Yeah, these are the stories you've obviously just been reading out a little bit of. The FA have contacted Steve Bruce a couple of weeks ago, I think when they were away in Portugal doing the pre-season training. They're out in Portimao for 10 days, which I'm sure will be a pleasant place to be this time of year, or any time of the year, to be honest.
Well, right now, England's a pretty pleasant place to be as well, I'd imagine.
You say it's better than doing this? Anyway, so he's been there, and he's been interviewed for the England job informally, as a statement from Hull City has said today. Obviously, a lot of people have been speculating about it for weeks. A lot of different big names have been mentioned. Jurgen Klinsmann, who used to be at Tottenham, used to manage Germany, he's managing America at the minute. Arsene Wenger, who's the Arsenal manager as well, he's been linked to it. Sam Allardyce, who saves Sunderland from relegation every single year, he's another person that's been linked to it, and Steve Bruce as well. The only two people that we know have definitely been spoken to so far, that I'm aware of anyway, are Allardyce at Sunderland and Steve Bruce at Hull City. And I think it says something really good about the work that he's done at Hull, you know, in a time when maybe the football club hasn't been having all the great press that it should have been going into the Premier League.
What does it mean for the club then?
Well, I think it puts them on, you know, an even greater pedestal than they're already on. People can say, oh, who was the last club he managed? You know, people that aren't in England, aren't in Europe, they might not know who Hull City are, even though they've been in the Premier League a couple of times. And it's, I suppose, fantastic to say, Hull City manager, done good there. Now on to the top job.
Brilliant.
Not that that's particularly saying a lot, you know, judged on England's recent performances. I've got the statement here from Hull City as well, so I'll read it out for you.
Please.
Yep. They said earlier, which was at lunchtime, we got this through. The club can confirm that manager Steve Bruce has held informal discussions regarding the England vacancy, although no approach has been received from the FA. So that's saying that nothing official's come of it yet, but they're trying their best, I think. Yeah. We would hope to see the FA conclude their business quickly in order to avoid further speculation regarding Steve ahead of what is a season of huge importance for the club following our return to the Premier League. And that's made even more important now, the fact that 3 of their, I suppose, stars from last year are out injured for 6 months each. At least 6 months each, we think. So, you know, he's going to have to spend some money and get some players in the next month, as well as preparing for the new season.
Sounds good stuff.
Yeah.
What else have you been working on for us?
Well, I've been, I suppose, slightly on the football theme. I've been to a new course in Grimsby, a new foot golf course in Grimsby.
Oh, yes, you mentioned about that, yeah.
That's an exciting sport.
Yes.
Maybe not someone who's interested in football or golf. The idea of foot golf is basically, I think there was a chap in East Yorkshire, you'll hear about this later on anyway in the second half, chap in East Yorkshire who loved playing, well, he didn't love playing golf, all his mates loved playing golf, and he thought I could do with kicking a football around here instead of having to try and play with a golf club. And I sort of agree with him, to be honest. You know, I play once a year, but it don't go much further than that. Yeah. And he basically had this idea to take it on. It's spreading around the country, 50,000 people taking part in it.
It's an interesting sport because I think when it first opened, it wasn't open to the public yet, but they were still promoting it online, I think, on social media. And that's when we went along to it just to see what this was all about, because we hadn't heard of foot golf before. And it was an interesting experience. You know, you get the workout of a golf course, and yet it's just fun for those people who don't really want to play golf.
I mean, I enjoy playing golf, but I think fun's a stretch.
You're right.
I bet there's people at golf clubs up and down the area now.
Yes, beg to differ.
Yeah, really wishing I hadn't said that.
Yeah.
But I can understand the appeal of a football, especially for kids as well. Golf can be a bit of a challenging sport, but to have these kids kicking a football around and also getting used to a golf course at the same time, it's kind of a gateway sport into that, perhaps.
What else have you got there?
Another story, yes. This is a man who got the shock of his life when he unearthed a pistol hidden in his back garden. Now, doing a bit of gardening, you don't want to come across that, do you?
No, definitely not.
And the guy said, Josh Keyworth, who was digging around his house in Hollingsworth Avenue in Immingham, said he heard a clunking sound while digging. It wasn't a gas pipe, wasn't a water pipe, it was a firearm.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I can't think of anything better to find.
On that very interesting note, we are just going to go to an ad break. Let people get used to that. Join me after the break for the latest sports news, and Fred McNamara will be here to share some more interesting news stories. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Hull Marathon figures are down, severe weather warnings across the region, and Dan Kemp brings us the latest sporting action. Participant numbers for this year's Hull Marathon are slightly down on the 2015 event. Around 550 people have signed up to the main race so far, with 91 teams having signed up for the relay race. This year's event takes place on Sunday, the 18th of September. Despite temperatures hitting 28 degrees Celsius, that's all set to change, according to a warning issued by the Met Office today. A severe weather warning has been issued across East Yorkshire for Wednesday. Starting early in the morning, heavy rain and thundery showers are expected across the region, with hail, gusty wind conditions and a risk of surface water flooding. Although the warning is in place till 9 p.m. on Wednesday night, most of East Yorkshire and Humberside will be affected in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The UK's fastest growing sport has hit Grimsby. Foot golf is a sport played on what is essentially a golf course with bigger holes. The first course in the country was founded in Hull, and it's a game now played by more than 50,000 people, with a World Cup and other major competitions. Kieran Lawry is the Operations Director of Foot Golf UK.
The sport was actually started in the UK by a guy from East Yorkshire, a friend of mine actually, that he always used to get dragged around a golf course by his older brother and couldn't actually hold a golf club, and always thought, I wish I was allowed to kick a football around here because I'd be a lot better at it. And one day just thought, well, you know what, I'm going to put it into practice. And like I say, the rest is history, really. We got hold of the site last year, towards the end of last year. It's been a bit of a slow process trying to get the whole facility up to a decent enough standard because it's 30 acres. But we have completely refurbed inside. The course has now been worked on, so it's a good standard. And then we're going to work on other little aspects to bring it up to a good standard.
You only got to look at this environment that it's placed in. You know, talk about learning in a natural environment, and people who know me well enough will know anything to do with kids, anything to do with the outdoors, sports, health, it gets it all. You know, you've got to look at what we were just hearing about it, being taken from golf to somebody kicking the ball around. Isn't that how rugby started? Didn't somebody take that from football, pick up the ball, start running with it? Have we got another big sport coming up here? You mentioned the Olympics. I think potentially we could have enormous potential for kids to have fun, enjoy it. There's no restrictions. It's a sport for all. And just look at the parties they could have up here. I'm desperate to get my trainers on and have a go. Can't wait. I think it's brilliant. You're going to have the wildlife. You're going to have an environment that's healthy. Kids are going to go home and have the fun. They'll build up the confidence, as we've heard. And it'll cause enormous benefits for kids growing up in a healthy environment with sport and education around them. What better to learn?
And if you, like the Mayor, fancy giving it a try, then the new course is on Cromwell Road in Grimsby. The railway line between Hull and Selby has reopened after disruption for most of the day. There have been issues with the swing bridge near the station in the town, meaning trains couldn't cross the river. They reopened a couple of hours ago after trains had to be diverted via Goole. National Citizen Service is spreading across the country this year. It's a government-funded organisation that gives young people aged between 15 and 17 years the opportunity to engage in some fantastic activities, one of which occurred earlier today in Cllr. Cllr Arts and Heritage Centre played host to an event tied in with 2016's Summer Reading Challenge. Young people spent the day making arts and crafts projects inspired by the works of Roald Dahl that will decorate the centre. It's all in aid of getting children to grips with physical books rather than electronic devices, as well as encourage reading in general. Fred McNamara went along to find out more.
Well, today we're doing arts and crafts. We're making decorations basically to make the library look good for the upcoming events. They're having kids in to do a big read thing and get children encouraged in reading books over the summer holidays.
The whole idea is for promotion of reading. So I think the title is The Big Read. Or taken it off with BFG, but we're doing the Roald Dahl theme, so like get little kids involved and encourage them to start reading. I think the Big Read scheme is to get children to read at least one book per week for 6 weeks. It's just to encourage reading.
The idea behind the event is to encourage people to do more physical reading than electronic reading. So we're doing that by promoting the library, trying to encourage children to come to the library and adults. Because a library is more than just a place to read. You meet new friends, meet new people, and often those friendships can last longer than a normal friendship.
Well, hopefully it's to get young children of like primary school age encouraged in reading and make sure they stay reading over the summer holidays whilst they're away from school.
Well, obviously reading helps children a lot educationally, so I think the fact that it makes children smarter in a way is the best thing.
The best thing about this event will be hoping that children will want to come to the library more often and allow this place up in the community to be able to make friendships with people, as that is one of the most important things in life. So
we was all friends anyway, but so like brought us closer, and like to work as a team and then to work and help encourage younger children like just feels quite good. It's better than just sitting at home in summer, like you're actually taking part in something.
Oh, it's quite fun really. We just get to basically sort of hang around, talk to your friends and put together arts and crafts stuff. It's quite just a nice thing to do.
I am now joined by Fred McNamara to tell us more about that story. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Rashida. Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to the studio.
Thank you.
That sounds like a very interesting story, getting children back in touch with books rather than electronic devices.
It was, yes. It's all part of, as you mentioned in the queue just there, National Citizen Service, which obviously, as you mentioned, is a government-funded scheme that really aims to help young people aged between 15 and 17 basically boost their skills, boost their experience, boost their skills for their CV. Basically, it's all tied in with their UCAS applications, I think, for those who want to go on to university, or even if they don't want to go to university, if they want to just boost their skills. It takes advantage of them being at home during the summer months, and for this event, Cllr happened to be well suited to play a part in this event.
It's a great sort of way to do it, to encourage them through reading and through getting involved with Roald Dahl, which is a magical experience in itself.
It is, yeah.
What was the response like from the children there?
They seem to be having just so much fun. I was taken with how many how many of them were there and how many of them were willing to just put in the time to make all these arts and crafts projects to help boost the library, because it was not just about helping them as part of their careers event. It was more part of to help the library as well, because it's a volunteer-run library. No one in that library, as far as I know, earns any money. It's all volunteer-led, and they're all making crafts to help bring the library to life, as it were. Not that it already isn't, but to just encourage younger people to read the physical books.
Brilliant. And very quickly, if you could just tell us about the BFG event, or the Big Friendly Read.
Yes, Cllr Library itself is hosting, just spinning off from that story neatly, Cllr Library itself is hosting lots of events across this month in August. 28th of July, we've got the BFG Dreamcatcher and Dream Jars. There's so many more events going on in August involving Willy Wonka, James and Giant Peach, all happening.
We'll do a little bit more about that in the coming up.
We definitely will.
Cheers, thank you very much.
That's all right.
Now it's time for the sports news with Dan.
Hull City Centre manager Steve Bruce has held informal talks with the FA over the vacant England manager's position. He's been with the Tigers for 4 years, seeing 2 promotions, a relegation, an FA Cup final and a brief foray into Europe, making him one of the leading candidates for the job. In a statement released at lunchtime, the club confirmed the talks but denied that any formal approach has been made for his services. Meanwhile, the club are in pre-season action tonight at Mansfield Town. Amongst their squad for the game will be 35-year-old trialist Peter Odenwingie, who's recently been released by Stoke City following a loan at Bristol City. He's training with the club at the moment and will feature in the game at the One Call Stadium, kicking off at 7:30. Scunthorpe United striker Paddy Madden says the pre-season trip to Austria was tough on the squad but beneficial. He says the weather made it a particular challenge, with one of the Irons' 2 games called off midway through due to thunderstorms. Whilst admitting the trip has been intense, Madden hopes to reap the rewards going forward. Grimsby Town are back in friendly action tonight. They're making the trip to Boston United, where injured trio Reece Brown, Zach Mills and Andrew Boyce are all expected to return. The game kicks off at the Jakeman Stadium at 7:30. Elsewhere, North Ferriby United are in action too. They face Barton Town Old Boys. And that's it from the sport.
That's it for tonight. Thank you to my colleagues Stan and Fred for joining me on the sofa tonight. We're always looking forward to more news stories, so if you have one, then visit our Facebook and Twitter pages, or email us news@estuary.tv, or phone us in Grimsby on 01472 31 553. You can also write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. Until tomorrow, when Luke Adams is back, good evening.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Luke Adams. In the headlines tonight, a life sentence for a Grimsby man, an £8 million cash injection to deal with Hull's health and wellbeing issues, good neighbours and a call for volunteers. And I'll be joined on the server by my guest tonight, Jenny Cartwright, with her Threads of the Past. Detectives have charged a man in connection with the murder of a 60-year-old woman from near Hornsey. 21-year-old Daniel David Edwards of King Street in the town has appeared at Beverley Magistrates Court today in connection with the death of Fiona Southwell at Grange Farm in Seaton. She was discovered dead there on the evening of Friday the 15th of July. Specialist officers are continuing to support her family. Brickengool MP Andrew Percy has been named as the new Northern Powerhouse Minister. The role is part of the Department of Communities and Local Government. Mr Percy said he was surprised by the appointment, and as a proud Northerner he has accepted the position and is one of the few roles in government he would relish. In his second day in post today, Mr Percy has introduced legislation to create an elected mayor for South Yorkshire, which will see £30 million of funding devolved from Whitehall. Hull has been awarded nearly £8 million to tackle a range of emotional health and wellbeing issues within the city. The Big Lottery Fund has selected Hull as one of 6 successful bidders to receive the money over the next 5 years. The Head Start Hull programme is aimed at 10 to 16-year-olds and is aimed at improving their resilience to issues like bullying, peer pressure and body image. And on the subject of Hull, Hull's museums will be open for longer next year when it's City of Culture. The extended opening times will mean that all the city's council-run museums and the Friends Art Gallery will be open for more time on Thursday evenings and on Sundays. Hull City Council say they hope it will boost the early evening economy in the city centre. A local artist has built a bench in memory of the much-admired Cleethorpes GP, Dr John Birch. Ted Ford of Waltham runs his own art business and has constructed a bespoke bench built specially to remember the GP, who dedicated his life to medicine and family. Fred McNamara spoke to Ted earlier to find out more.
I made this bench to the memory of Dr John Birch, and it deemed an honour to be able to sit on the bench. It's eventually going to be down at the Masonic Hall. They're building a garden at the moment, but I'd just like people to realise that what a great man John Birch was. He had time for everybody, and so it's been little time on my behalf that I've been able to make this bench, and we're going to, obviously when the garden at the Masonic Hall is ready, we're going to invite Mrs Birch to receive it officially at that opening of the garden.
A converted library is on the hunt for volunteers to help keep it running during the busy summer months and hopefully with some sunshine. Cllr Arts and Heritage Centre, which houses both a cafe and a library, is an entirely voluntary-run outfit which operates 7 days a week. Lincolnshire County Council were formerly responsible for the library, however they have relinquished responsibility of the building to the community of Cllr. Now run entirely by voluntary staff, the library is looking to expand its pool of volunteers to cope with the general demand for the building during the summer holidays. Fred McNamara spoke to some of the volunteers.
They've taken over the role of the librarians, so they now handle all of the things that the librarians used to do. We have a help centre that answers questions that can't be dealt with here, but everything is done by we here. We handle all the books that are rotated around the libraries of Lincolnshire. So we're still part of the whole system. It's just that we operate without being paid. So we work on 4-hourly shifts, and we all bring different things to the library. For example, I give IT sessions on Tuesday mornings, and my colleague who comes in the afternoon, he does the same. So people who want to learn basic skills or who want to use the free Ancestry, which is available on our computers, can come here and do it.
Well, they bring themselves, their personality, their skills. A lot of our volunteers have had other careers, so they've got lots of experience, and they help the members of the public, whether it's finding a book, ordering a book, doing family history online. You know, they are the workforce of our library. We don't have paid staff running the library anymore. Unfortunately, that's a way of the past. And volunteers are the persons, so that's what we're calling for, is sort of more of them to come forward and help the community that they live in.
Oh, well, it's created a lively group of people who actually don't know many people in Cllr, who've become a volunteer. I've suddenly got a whole new group of friends. We have volunteer evenings, we have a social life as well as actually coming and offering our services to the library. So anybody who's got a skill, even if they can just read and count, they can come and work here. And there's a lot of support. It just is a very happy, vibrant place, and it's a showcase. We have people from all over the country coming to see how our library runs. So yeah, we're very proud of it.
Oh, it's a great environment. The volunteers make the organisation. They are, you know, they're all individual people. They're characters, and I love working in this environment. And I think the community really appreciate everything that they do, because you know, if without the volunteers, the library wouldn't be able to exist. We're a community organisation. We run on very limited resources. So you know, the volunteers really do make it possible for us to be here, and that's why we need them. They get so much out of it themselves. They you know, they can learn new skills. They meet people. So it's a two-way thing, and so you know, they are our special people.
A creative heritage initiative to aid dementia sufferers and their families in North East Lincolnshire has proved a great success. Led by Links Inspire Libraries and with a £4,000 Heritage Lottery grant, the Threads of the Past project enabled local people to share and recall their memories and explore the past through the use of stitchwork, textiles and artefacts. To tell me more about the project, I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Jenny Cartwright, Development Officer for Links Inspire Libraries.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Jenny. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
You're welcome.
Threads of the Past. Tell me a little bit about the project, the background behind it.
The background was probably about 18 months, 2 years ago, and funnily enough, I was just listening to the radio and they were discussing a project. I think it was called something like Fine Cell Work.
Okay.
And it was the therapeutic benefit of creative work for prisoners, actually, people, inmates. And because I work very closely with the local history collection in the library service, I'm always looking for innovative ways to develop the service, to promote the collections, to spread the word, if you like. And I thought, right, what can we do that would sort of marry up using heritage items, photographs from the local history collection, with a creative aspect as well. And the Threads of the Past idea came to me. So I'd worked with a local mixed media artist, Nikki Dillerstone, in the past. So we got together and created the Threads of the Past project and delivered it to 3 local care settings. It was aimed at people with early stage dementia, but not necessarily just for people with dementia. So we ended up working at St Andrew's Hospice in Grimsby. Strand Court, of course, yes, it was lovely to support them with the work that they do and to take in something a little bit different. Strand Court on the East Marsh, and finally the Alzheimer's Society in Grimsby at their new venue on Dudley Street.
So you work with a lot of key partners there.
Absolutely, yes.
How receptive then, Jenny, was there to the project, what you built into fruition?
They were all very receptive. When we started at the hospice in January this year, at the end of the 6 weeks, because the project ran for 6 weeks at each venue, we thought we can't better this. But moving to Strand Court, it was very different. It was rewarding in very different ways, and equally so at the Alzheimer's Society. We found that you hear people talk about making a difference, but with this project, which was actually, as you said, it was £4,000, which isn't a huge amount of money, we really felt that it was a little project that made a very, very big difference to a lot of people.
Not just Alzheimer's and dementia sufferers, but we said there in the link that it was there to help their families as well.
Their families as well.
How beneficial was it to them? Because they're an important part of Alzheimer's and dementia sufferers, aren't they? Because they're the ones who care for them, nurture them and still provide that love and support.
Yes.
So
It was a way of helping the people who participated sort of dig through their old photographs,
Sure, yeah.
make choices about textiles and fabric and that creative element, and then sit down with us to talk about, to share their memories, to talk about the photographs they'd brought in, and to incorporate them into the memory boxes, which were sort of the end product of the project.
Well, the memory boxes sound very intriguing and great fun, so perhaps you could tell me more about the memory boxes in part 2 and a bit more about the project, Jenny.
Will do.
Thank you very much indeed. Join me after the break then when I'll continue my chat with Jenny and we'll find out how a new pool of volunteers are needed to keep a library running. Plus Fred will have a roundup of all the latest sporting action. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, the joys of having good neighbours, and Fred will be along with all the latest sports news. More of the day's news headlines first, and 3 companies are the first to benefit from the newly named £3 million British Steel Support Fund, with a further 3 applications soon to be approved. This will create 110 jobs and safeguard an additional 71. In total, almost £500,000 has been awarded to Moulded Fibre Products, Saxon Quality Foods and RJ Engineering, and will create 45 new jobs. The funding can be used for capital investments, training, wage subsidies for disadvantaged workers and research and development. Councillor Liz Redfern, chair of the British Steel Task Force at North Lincolnshire Council, said this is great news and demonstrates the importance of the fund in helping businesses within the British steel supply chain and other local businesses survive, grow and prosper. North Lincolnshire Council are joining forces with Public Health England to launch a national awareness campaign encouraging people with persistent respiratory problems to visit their GP. A persistent cough or inappropriate breathlessness during everyday activities could be a signs of the symptoms of various conditions, including cancer, COPD and heart disease. In North Lincolnshire, there were 3,474 cases of COPD and 7,762 cases of coronary heart disease in 2013-14. During 2014, 155 people in North Lincolnshire were diagnosed with lung cancer and 118 people died from the disease. As part of the campaign, the council are urging people not to ignore any persistent respiratory problems that they have and to make sure people are aware of what symptoms to look out for. East Riding Council are midway through a £2.5 million contract to re-roof hundreds of the council's housing stock. Around 270 dwellings will see the improvements across the county, including Beverley, Holderness and Withensea. The work includes the renewal of the roof coverings, rebuilding and repointing chimneys and repairing any defective brickwork at high level. The work started in April and is due to continue until next spring. It's part of a major programme of investment in the council's housing stock. Everybody needs good neighbours. That's the message from the people of Immingham. They're aiming to develop a new sense of community in which older people are valued and good neighbourliness is the norm. The scheme has been set up by the Care Plus group. Rashida Green knocked on the door and brings us this report.
Immingham Civic Centre saw the launch of Good Neighbours, a project aimed at people over 50 in North East Lincolnshire who are socially isolated. The objective today was to invite members of the public and give them information about the services available to them.
The main aim of Good Neighbours is reducing social isolation of people in North East Links, because there's lots of things happening in North East Links for people over 50 to be a part of and get out and be active, but unfortunately there's lots of people in North East Links that aren't active.
The project is working towards introducing those experiencing social isolation to activities available in their area. Those interested will be assisted with accessing these activities when a volunteer attends the first session with them.
A main partner really is One Voice, which is an umbrella organisation with lots of partners that actually people that live in Immingham and organisations that work in Immingham. We've got partnerships from Friendship at Home, Foresight, Links Inspired. There's tons of organisations that actually are working on this with us.
We're here today to support the development of the Good Neighbours scheme. We're a community forum and we work in partnership with anybody who wants to make a difference in the town. We look for ways to enrich people's lives who are living in this community, and we'll look for new initiatives and new projects that we can come alongside others and support them in whatever way suits their needs.
In Immingham there is things from Tai Chi, swimming clubs, knitting, sewing, bingo, anything you want to do. There's tons of things happening in Immingham. We've just produced a booklet with what's on in Immingham, but if there's anything that people have got a burning desire to do that we aren't already doing in Immingham, please let us know, because we can always give it a go, give something new a chance.
Those interested in using this project can sign up and receive a membership card, which can then be used to avail discounts from certain local clubs and restaurants.
Really, today it's about letting people know that One Voice are here to support the community, that we will work alongside other people that are trying to make a change, and also to provide them with more awareness really of what is available on their doorstep, whether that be something that's directly linked with volunteering with us or directly linked with someone else.
Still with me in the studio, Jenny Cartwright, talking about threads of the past and memory boxes. Briefly tell me about the memory boxes as part of this project, Jenny.
The memory boxes incorporated the photographs that the participants brought in, the fabrics of their choice, ribbons, wool winding that we created. So they were very much very personal to the individual that made them. One of the great things that Nikki brought in was the ability to be able to photograph, print the photographs onto textile, onto material, so you could incorporate the photographs into the actual finished piece without damaging the original photographs. And I think that was one of the key elements of the project, that the creative skills of Nikki and the research skills for me, because I think there were about 8 or 10 subjects that we researched during the course of the project. These ranged from looking at the old streets, for instance Spencer Street, which no longer exists. That would have been on the Ramsden's car park as was. The fishing industry, when we worked at Strand Court, there were a lot of inquiries and research needed about the fishing industry, so we were looking into the La Forêt and a trawler called the Juliana. So I scurried off back to the library, did the research, came back, and then that was all incorporated into the creative work that Nikki did with the participants.
So you complemented each other very well.
Absolutely, yes. That was one of the things.
Some fantastic historic nuggets.
Yes.
How integral were the volunteers you had on board for this project?
The project couldn't have happened without the volunteers. It was a completely rounded project. There was me who did the application form, you know, just a document. But then the value and the way it grew into the project it became was just wonderful, and the volunteers played a huge part in that. So much so that they actually had a creative day yesterday as a treat for all the support they gave through the 3 venues. We actually kept the same volunteers through each venue because they enjoyed it so much, and they're now saying, when are we doing it again? When can we do this again? As did the participant,
Well, that brings us to my next question. What is the next phase now that the project is over? What's your aspirations moving forward?
I think we all left the care settings with a great sense of regret. We want to do more. We want to do for longer sessions, not just 6 weeks, maybe 12 weeks, work with these organisations again, get some more funding and make the project grow.
Into a longer term
Absolutely,
investment.
yes. Links Inspire is committed to supporting the health and well-being of the local community, and if I can play a part in supporting that with this project, then that's what I need to do.
Fantastic. And you work at Waltham Library, is that correct, Jenny?
I work all over the place. I have a desk and a
So you're
computer
very
at
much
Waltham
in the
Library.
community.
Very much in the community. I mean, my role is a development officer, so I'm out and about looking for opportunities.
Well, I wish you all the best with the project in the future, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jude, for coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now it's time for the sports news with Fred.
Hull City captain Michael Dawson is undergoing a scan today to assess an injury picked up last night. The Tigers beat Mansfield Town 1-0 in the pre-season friendly last night thanks to a Jared Bowen strike, but the real concern is around the skipper, who opened up his knee in the first half challenge. It comes a week since fellow centre-half Alex Bruce was confirmed to be out for 6 months, along with keeper Alan McGregor and defender Moses Odubajo. Midfielder Tom Huddleston filled the void at centre-back last night, but also picked up a knock which isn't thought to be serious. Jake Livermore and Harry Maguire also missed last night due to slight knocks. Grimsby Town drew 1-1 last night at Boston United. Tom Bolawinwa hit the woodwork twice before Dominic Ver's second half strike, which gave them a draw at the Jakeman Stadium. And a reminder that tonight's scheduled game against Rotherham United has been postponed. Speaking following Scunthorpe's United week-long trip to Austria, fullback Jordan Clark says he's delighted with how the tour went. The trip included 2 games, one which was abandoned after 31 minutes, while the other saw the Iron Taste defeat to FC Leifering. Despite this, Clark says he thought he and his team did really well against strong opposition. Elsewhere, North Ferriby United won their friendly at Barton Town. Old Boys last night, they won 2-0. And that's all for your sport.
Once again, that's all we've got time for today, this Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. You can also email news@estuary.tv or phone our news desk, Grimsby number 01472315553. And you can put pen to paper and write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much to my guest today, Jenny Cartwright, for joining me on the sofa. And as always, thank you for watching. Join me same time tomorrow live at 5:30 when I'll be joined on the sofa by Bryony Ming of the Dove House Hospice as we go through the decades. Great to be back with you after my annual leave. Until tomorrow, from all of us on the team, good evening. Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Luke Adams. In the headlines tonight, a care home is placed in special measures, a rare form of seaweed, honouring an aviatrix heroine and charity celebrations. And my guest tonight, Bryony Ming of Dove House Hospice, will be helping me through the decades. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Thursday's programme. First tonight, police are appealing for witnesses after an 85-year-old woman died at Hull Infirmary 7 days after falling from a mobility scooter last Tuesday morning. The woman was riding in her mobility scooter in Willoughby in East Yorkshire when she fell from the scooter and suffered serious injuries. She was taken to Hull Infirmary but died on Tuesday of this week. Humberside police officers would now like to speak to any witnesses, in particular a woman believed to be a nurse who stopped to help and a man who was cutting the grass nearby. Humberside Police and Crime Commissioner Keith Hunter has launched a new section of his website to inform the public on how Humberside Police are performing. Your Police will give residents easy access to the latest crime figures, call answering times, staffing levels and more. As the public's representative on policing, the Commissioner's role is to hold the force accountable for providing an efficient and effective service, to both support and challenge Humberside Police and call for improvements where they are needed. Garden House Care Home in Humberston has been told it must improve after inspectors found a series of shortfalls leading to safety concerns. The announcement comes after visits from both Health Watch North East Lincolnshire and the Care Quality Commission, the CQC, which raised concern about the service's care. Their official report indicated unhygienic conditions, out-of-date medication and understaffing among the major concerns. These findings have now led the CQC to place the home in special measures following their inspection last month, meaning it must improve or risk being closed. Two of Scunthorpe's gardens have been named amongst the very best in the UK. For the 9th year running, Kingsway Gardens and Woodlands Memorial Park and Crematorium have retained their prestigious Green Flag Awards. The Green Flag Award, now celebrating its 20th year, recognises and rewards the best parks and green spaces across the country. Councillor Neil Poole, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods at North Lincolnshire Council, said that the council are absolutely delighted with the award, and it's fantastic to see the outstanding green spaces in North Lincolnshire recognised once again. A new plaque was unveiled today to honour one of Hull's most famous daughters. Amy Johnson was the first woman to fly solo from England to Australia back in 1930. She grew up in Hull and, following a move to London, developed a passion for aviation. Councillor Mary Glue established the centenary plaques and tells us why Johnson is such an important role model to the city.
Well, we're here to pay tribute to an inspirational aviator, Amy Johnson, as part of the Amy Johnson Festival. So we're delighted to be here today to unveil a plaque in Amy's honour, a centenary plaque. The plaques are about honouring the people of this city. I don't honestly think that 100 plaques is going to be enough. You know, there are so many people with such diverse talents that have really made an impact globally and put Hull on the map.
A rare form of seaweed has been discovered in Grimsby. The seaweed looks like a shrivelled chili and is non-native to England. Fred McNamara brings us this slightly unusual report.
A marine research group has discovered a rare seaweed in Grimsby. Grattalupia turuturu, otherwise known as the devil's tongue seaweed, has been found on the coast of Grimsby. The discovery of this weed means it exists much further up the north and the east coast than was previously thought. The Bishop Group, who made the discovery, studies non-native species of marine life across the country. They specialise in analysing marine life that doesn't exist in its normal geographical location thanks to human intervention. The devil's tongue weed is non-native to England and was first recorded in these parts in 1973. The Bishop Group's investigations continue, however the discovery of this weed in this part of the country is sure to put Grimsby on the marine map.
A graduation ceremony took place today to mark the achievements of students at Linkage. Thousands of young people with learning disabilities from across the country have studied further education courses at the centre and learnt skills for life. The graduation coincides with the charity's 40th anniversary celebrations. Fred brings us this report.
The most important thing about Linkage and how we support our students are the partners that we use. Without our partners, without charity donations, we couldn't continue. You know, part of Linkage is as a college and the education element, but there are so many more facets to Linkage Trust. For us, it's really important that we celebrate student success and look forward to their future with or without us, but knowing that, that's wrong, but never mind, I'll have to edit that. But knowing that their time with us has been valuable, they've learned employability skills which will lead them into independent living as well as hopefully paid employment.
The Dove House Community Choir are about to step through the decades as they embark on a musical journey. Featuring the Hornsey Ukulele Group, the choral concert will feature hits from the 30s right through to the present day. With her dancing feet at the ready, I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Bryony Ming, music therapist at Dove House Hospice, to tell me more about the event. Bryony, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
You're welcome.
So tomorrow night is the event where audience members can enjoy an evening of choral performances through the decades.
Yes, that's right.
Firstly, tell me about why this event was set up.
Okay, well, the Dove House Community Choir do a couple of concerts a year usually.
Okay.
And we raise money for the hospice mainly in our performances.
Because you, like I said in your link there, Bryony, you are the music therapist at Dove House Hospice.
That's right.
And I believe the Dove House Hospice Community Choir has been running for about 6 years, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this event was set up to, like you say, raise vital funds for the hospice. Why are they so vitally needed, those funds?
Well, at Dove House, we care for adults with life-limiting illnesses and for their carers and their relatives as well. The whole family is important. And we only receive about 11% of our funding from the government, so the rest of it is up to donations and fundraising.
And obviously this is a fun fundraising event to raise those vital funds. What can people look forward to at this event tomorrow, Bryony?
Right, well, we're singing, they're not all the major hits, but some of them are. We're singing songs mainly from the 30s up to the present day. Things like from the 30s, Leaning on a Lamppost, up to
Hallelujah, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Make You Feel My Love, Let It Go.
The infamous Frozen song, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, which you may be able to do much better, depending on your view on Frozen and that particular song. What 30s numbers do we have there, though?
Like I say, Leaning on a Lamppost and We Join the Navy. So those are both sung by the men in the choir.
Okay. And I'm assuming you was instrumental, Bryony, in selecting the numbers which are going to be covered tomorrow. Why did you pick those particular songs?
Well, actually, I originally asked the choir themselves to come up with songs they wanted to do, and then we came up with the theme after that.
Okay.
Because they'd chosen lots of songs from different decades.
Okay.
So we came up with a theme afterwards. I chose some of them myself, but...
What particular favourites did you pick out there?
Well, I think Let It Go was one of mine, actually.
Let It Go. Okay.
Because my niece has loved it so much.
Oh, really? So she's had some influence as well?
Yes.
And the Hornsey Ukulele Group, how integral to tomorrow's performance are they going to be?
Well, they've actually only joined us at the last minute because we had another group and they couldn't come. So they've thankfully stepped in, but they're going to do a bit at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half.
Okay. Okay.
We're looking forward to them joining us.
Excellent. So have they been part of the rehearsals in place? And
no, because they only really joined us from last week.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
So gold star to them for stepping in at last minute.
Yeah.
But would the concert been able to go ahead without their involvement?
It would have gone ahead, but it would have been a bit shorter.
Okay. Music and singing in the choir.
Yeah.
Great for people's motivation, self-confidence.
Yeah.
I'm not a singer myself. I don't have a very strong singing voice, so I don't think I would be quite welcome in the choir. But do you find that it helps people's confidence and their motivation?
Absolutely, yes. I myself was actually quite humbled recently when I found out how much it really did mean to some of the members.
Okay.
It gives them confidence, it helps them to enjoy things. Some of our members are bereaved, so being able to enjoy and have a purpose for things again for life.
Okay, that's interesting. So
really
some of the
helps.
members have come from people who are in care at the hospice, the bereaved members of the family. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, how are ticket sales going, most importantly, for this event tomorrow, and how can people purchase tickets?
They're going all right, although a lot of people do come and buy on the door, and so that's probably the best option now. Tickets will be available on the door.
So we will be covering this again in part 2, but for the purpose of part 1, where is the event taking place?
St Columba's Church, which is on Laburnum Avenue in Hull.
In Hull, okay. And it's from 7 o'clock tomorrow?
Yep, that's right.
Till about 9:30?
About that, yes.
With music through the decades. Okay, Bryony, stay there. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a charity football match and a roundup of all the latest sporting action. And I'll be continuing my chat with Bryony Ming. It's not cool to cool off in rivers and lakes. That's the message from Humberside Fire and Rescue Service. With the hot weather and the beginning of the school holidays, there's a risk that people will put themselves in danger by cooling off in rivers, lakes and marinas. A total of 44% of people who drowned back in 2014 had no intention of entering the water. Trips, falls or underestimating the risks associated with being near water meant that 302 people lost their lives. Community Safety Manager Steve Duffield said the service is keen to highlight the dangers of open water and encourage people, whatever their age, to take extra care. With a long coastline, a dangerous tidal river and docks and marinas, the region has many high-risk areas. Engineering talent in the subjects of science, technology, engineering and maths got hands-on support from 24 employers and 24 businesses at the 6th Teen Tech Humber event. The event welcomed more than 230 12 and 13-year-old students from the Humber region and gave them a chance to work alongside some of the people behind 21st century gadgets. It was held at the KCOM Stadium early this month, hosted by the Humber Education Business Partnership and Maggie Philbin. North Lynsey College has achieved its target of recruiting 100 apprentices in 100 days for the third year running. The college set the ambitious target of 100 and actually secured 113 new apprentices with local employers. It's the largest provider of apprenticeships in North Lincolnshire, with over 860 across different sectors and job roles. The college expects substantial growth between now and early next year before new funding comes into place. Business Development Manager Jill Cooper said she's delighted the college have surpassed the target figure, which was set again this year, and that employers and young people continue to consider apprenticeships as a fantastic opportunity. Over £120,000 has been raised for the cardiac risk in the young charity by a Hornsey family who lost their son to an undiagnosed heart condition 5 years ago. Joshua Fell collapsed and died while playing football with his friends, and ever since, his family have been raising money in his honour to pay for heart screenings for men and boys aged between 14 and 35. Hull City's ex-Tigers have been long-time supporters of the charity and playing games in Hornsey to raise funds for Cry UK every year. But now the formidable set of ex-footballers have been taking on teachers from Hull City's North Academy as they do their bit to raise much-needed funds and awareness. Dan Kemp has been along.
Richard and Donna Fell have raised nearly £30,000 just this year in memory of their son. And it's events like these that really help. The likes of Brian Hughes, Mark Greaves and former Hull City record signing Laurie Dudfield all played against the team of teachers, and Dudfield says it's a privilege to be a part of.
As a collective, as a group, you know, it's a great charity to get behind, obviously, all the good work that goes on, but on a personal level, you know, we've got to know the Fell family and obviously the terrible experience that they went through personally, and to know that there's so many people that have gone through that experience. So anything that we can do to help them and help raise awareness and raise any money, then you know, we're fully behind, and it's a real honour really and a pleasure to be involved with this charity.
It's amazing. We really appreciate the support they give when they turn out to our Hornsey game. We really appreciate it. It's just nice that they can do it and found the time to do it.
Taking on all comers is a regular occurrence for the ex-Tigers, but for a team of teachers, the experience is all a little bit different. Andy Curry's day job is head of maths, but on this day he's tasked with keeping out a team of former professional footballers and says they've been practising.
Well, we played on Friday night. I scored a couple of goals then, and I think the experience is going to count. I'm 57 next week. I think all my experience will make the difference. I'm centre forward. I'll be nodding them in.
I've told them that the first rule is we're trying to not embarrass the school. The students don't let us down. The students try their best in all the things that they do, so it's now the staff turn not to embarrass themselves in terms of the game tonight.
And as you'd expect, the ex-pros showed they've still got it. Brian Hughes played in the Premier League with Hull City, but didn't take it easy on a team of part-timers. It's all in the name of fun though, and fundraising, but it's hoped putting on more events like this will mean even more money being raised for the charity.
And unsurprisingly, I can report that the Tigers won 4-1. Still with me in the studio, Bryony Ming, as we continue to go through the decades with your choral event, which is happening tomorrow, Bryony. Most importantly, though, you are a music therapist at Dove House Hospice. Tell me about what that role actually means.
Okay, well, I work with patients, I work with relatives, adults and children, and music therapy provides a way for people to, a creative way for them to express their emotions and feelings and to communicate. Can be a lifeline sometimes, because we work with people who physically can't communicate, but also with people who just don't have the right words to say what's going on inside them.
Fascinating. So what kind of tools do you use to help these people communicate messages, emotions and feelings, Bryony?
Well, I've got lots of musical instruments that people can have a go at playing on, so improvisation is one of the ways. We use singing, sometimes I just play for people to help them to relax, writing songs, listening to music that's familiar to them, listening to their life stories and putting that onto CD or DVD.
Okay, so you can weave someone's life story into choral and singing. Fantastic. What's your actual background then, Bryony?
Well, I was brought up with music all around,
okay.
But I didn't study music until 2003, and then did my master's in music therapy straight afterwards, came straight to Dove House.
Okay. And obviously you enjoy working there, and you're impressed with the fantastic work that they do.
It's a great place to work. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the concert tomorrow, we was talking earlier in part 1 that we have music from the 30s right through to the present day. So we have Let It Go from the film Frozen. What other modern songs will people be aware of? If we have any young members of the audience coming tomorrow, what songs would they be able to relate to and recognise?
Well, there's Make You Feel My Love,
okay,
which was originally, of course, Bob Dylan, but has been redone by Adele, so younger people will know that. Hallelujah has been done by so many people.
Yes, I think Susan Boyle, one of my favourite singers, covered that recently on one of her albums. So by the sounds of it then, Brian, there is something to suit everybody's taste, would you say, at the concert tomorrow? So. How can people get hold of tickets if they want to come along tomorrow and wax their vocal cords?
I think the best way now is just to buy them on the door, and it is still possible to phone the hospice and get them, but as it's the concert's tomorrow, it's probably best to just get them on the door at the church.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I wish you all the best with tomorrow's concert, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Choral vocal cords at the ready, and of course, most importantly, dancing feet. Bryony, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
You're welcome.
Now it's time for the sports news with Fred.
Hull City defender Andrew Robertson says he's staying positive despite the club's current injury crisis. Fellow defenders Michael Dawson, Alex Bruce, Moses Odubajo and Harry Maguire are all on the treatment table at present, meaning the usual flying full-back had to fill in at centre-half for their last pre-season game at Mansfield. But he says he has no doubt the rest of the Tigers squad are capable of performing in their absence. Elsewhere today, Grimsby Town says Saturday opponents Sheffield United are set to sell out their 1900 allocation at Blundell Park. The Blaze travelled to North East Lincolnshire for the pre-season friendly, for which tickets are only £10. The club also reminding fans that tonight's scheduled friendly against Rotherham United has been postponed. Meanwhile, Scunthorpe United are preparing for 2 home friendlies over the next 5 days. The Iron host Hull City on Saturday before welcoming the aforementioned Rotherham to Glanford Park on Tuesday. On to Rugby League, and Hull KR's Ben Cockayne makes his 200th appearance at the Robins tonight. He was awarded with a special commemorative shirt by his teammates a short time ago ahead of this evening's clash with Leeds Rhinos at Lightstream Stadium. Meanwhile, Hull FC winger Fetuli Talanoa says he's aware of the significance of the Black and Whites finishing the Super League season in top spot. They currently hold on to the leadership of the league on point difference to Wigan ahead of Friday's trip to Salford. And that's all for your sport.
That's it for this Thursday evening, I'm afraid. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. You can also email news@estuary.tv or phone our news desk, which is a Grimsby number 01472 31553. That's 01472 31553. And you can also put pen to paper and write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much to my guests today for joining me on the sofa, and as always, thank you for watching. Join me same time tomorrow live at 5:30, of course, when I'll be reviewing the week's local papers with my guest Royce Coates of the Grimsby Air Cadets. Until tomorrow, from all of us on the team, good evening.